They call me the Doctor.
I'm the Doctor.
I am the Doctor.
I'm the Doctor. I'm the Doctor.
I am the Doctor.
I'm the Doctor.
I'm the Doctor.
Greetings, humans, Daleks, Time Lords, and prisoners of Stormcage. You are listening to Exterminating Doctor Who.
This is the show where we take Doctor Who's most popular episodes and debate if they're really as good as their reputations.
With your hosts, Aidan Gula.
And me, George Ellis.
And in today's episode, we are talking about Rosa.
We are, after promising it
Which
for
we
about
promised
2 months.
2 months ago. We said, we did an adventure in space and time. We said, next week, join us for Rosa. And then we thought, oh, we're really busy at the moment, so just have a 2-week break. That turned into 2 and a bit months. We're back.
Yeah.
With a little.
For how long?
With a little home show. Then we'll be back in the studio next week. And then we probably won't be back again. No, we will. We will. We'll carry on. Because
we will do what we say we're going to do now. We're not actually going to stop because we both. It was quite funny. Aidan said to me quite recently, he said, he said he doesn't see much of me. And I'm sitting there thinking, that's because you put the podcast on hiatus for 2 months.
I was about to say, there's been some Doctor Who things keeping us going in the meantime, but that mainly consists of Eve of the Daleks, which you still haven't seen.
Haven't watched, yeah. Because I was going to watch it. No, the thing is, when I went, I was going to watch it and I was thinking, oh, I'll watch it now. But I didn't want to watch it before Rosa because you haven't said good things about Rosa, and I wanted on the off chance I didn't like Rosa to have something to cleanse my palate, and I kind of need it.
Yeah. We might give a little bit more detail next week or the week after or the week after that, or by over what time we're doing another Jodie Whittaker episode when you've finally seen it. But I did quite like it.
We're recording this now, but you're going to see this in about 7 months.
Yeah. But I did quite like Eve of the Daleks. And that's basically where my opinion ends. It was fun. It was fine. There has been other, for our traditional old Who Knows section, there has been a bit of rumour mill recently.
Hey, I was gonna say rumor mill.
To occupy our Doctor Who brains while we're not actually doing the podcast, because the 60th anniversary is obviously coming up. Obviously, Russell T Davies is doing it, and people are going a bit crazy because, as was reported on Good Morning Britain the other day, and I think it was even on the news, David Tennant is the 14th Doctor. No,
it was reported on the news.
People have. It was on Good Morning Britain. They were saying it was like, "Is David Tennant going to be the 14th Doctor?" It was like, no. Why would he be the?
If he is, then we'll eat our words. But he'll be back for something. That's basically a guarantee. But they can't. They're not going to make him the 14th Doctor because first off, the dude's too old. He himself says he doesn't even fit the clothes that well anymore.
It made me laugh like a lot of Georgia Tennant. I think she tweeted something like, "What now?" She was just like, "What are people saying? What is this nonsense?" I mean, there's variations on the room. Like you said, he will be in the 60th. I think we could just assume that as a given because it's Russell T Davies. Why wouldn't he bring his Doctor back? And there's a rumor that Catherine Tate is coming back as well. And there's the idea that it's either going to be plucking the 10th Doctor and Donna out of their time to throw them into a multi-Doctor special, or it's actually going to be them leading it, which I've also heard, which I think is a bit odd. But
why would you choose them? Wouldn't you choose Jodie to lead the multi-Doctor special?
But she'd have regenerated by then.
Oh yeah, wouldn't you? Yeah, but wouldn't you? Yeah, make it whoever it is at the time, make it their multi-Doctor special.
That's why. That's because I can understand them being in it. I can understand David Tennant and Catherine Tate coming back, absolutely. But leading it makes it sound as though we're stepping back 15 years to go back to live in, oh, let's just show a multi-doctor adventure from the 10th Doctor's era. And that's like, why would you do that?
I mean, I'd watch it and I'd probably be sitting there thinking, wow, this is amazing. But it'd be pointless. Like, there's like, and it would look so weird. Like, imagine if it is like, no, right, just imagine they're doing one that is set during the 10th Doctor era, and it's just like suddenly the Doctor's like 10 years older, quite like the hair is completely different.
Catherine
doesn't
Tate
fit
too.
the
She's
suit.
aged.
Yeah, just
because then if they did do that, if you then put it in your watch order, because obviously he's still with Donna. So this is before the next Doctor, before Planet of the Dead, before Waters of Mars, all of that. So theoretically, you're gonna have to be watching series 4, get halfway through, put that episode on, then go back to series 4, and you'll be like, "What? But this doesn't add up. You look so old."
And I don't think the BBC, especially right now, have the budget for much de-aging technology.
No.
Like, No. So it's. I'm excited to see what they do with the, like, all these rumors and that kind of thing. Like, I'm excited to see what they're going to do with it, but like we've just like, okay, the main rumor is like how the regeneration is going to occur, isn't it, Aidan?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The thing that alongside the David Tennant with the 14th Doctor, a lot of people are kind of just interpreting that as he's going to be the 14th Doctor full time. That's not actually really what they've been saying. They're saying that Jodie Whittaker's regeneration is going to go wrong and she's going to become David Tennant as the 14th Doctor, and then the 14th Doctor will regenerate into the 15th Doctor at the end, which will presumably be Lydia West or Tania Miller or somebody like that. Which I don't like it, but I'll accept it as an idea. But I just like the idea that it is the Doctor's regeneration's going wrong and they're flipping between bodies. I think that is a good idea.
Because I think it'd be very interesting to see kind of, well, first off, I think it's probably the most organic way to have kind of
bring
a
as many
multi-doctors
back.
Yeah,
as
to
you
bring the
can.
Doctors back, but you don't have to do much of the or they forget everything after the episode or that kind of thing, because they don't need to, because they're not the same time as when they were first around. They're technically after all of kind of Jodie's Doctor's memories, but they look and have the personality of the Doctor they were. And I think that's a very organic way of having it progress in a really very interesting way, and in something kind of not ever kind of done before, especially not for Doctor Who. And I just think it'd be amazing to kind of have the Doctors we know and love kind of in a situation where they have to deal with it themselves again. And I think part of, like, I love multi-Doctor stories, I do, and like I think David and Matt together was amazing and brilliant, and John Hurt, and that was like amazing. But there's a part of me that just wants to see the Doctor I knew and I know kind of dealing with the situation by themselves again. And there'd be just something very special about having like Capaldi show up and just be like, oh my God, it's Capaldi having to just be angry at shit again. That'd be great. And then it flips back through to Matt and David, and hell, if they get Eccleston, I just think it'd be really nice to see and very exciting. And I mean, I agree with you in the sense of I don't want it to stay on day. I don't want any of the old Doctors to class as a new regeneration. Like, maybe stay
weird.
If you want to stay on one for like the whole episode, like it gets stuck on David, don't class him as a regeneration though. Like, just be like we're stuck on this and we've got to regenerate into the 14th, you know? Like, as long as you don't class him as a regeneration, I'm fine. Because God, imagine having the big poster thing where it's like all of them, but David's there twice. It'd be a bit, I love David. I really do. I mean, if you've watched any of this podcast, you know he's my favorite. But no, we don't need him twice. Like, he's not,
that's the
like,
thing
that
as well,
doesn't work.
Because, like you said, he would be on a poster twice. Or I was thinking about like, action figures. I was thinking, well, would we have to have another David Tennant toy, like in a different outfit? And I thought theoretically he'd be playing a new incarnation. I've seen some people that are for the idea are saying, I hope he gets, and some people like saying, I hope he gets to keep his Scottish accent this time. And like some, like, because it would be a new Doctor. He's got the same face, but he would be a new incarnation. He'd be getting to play it different. But then that's kind of I think for that, it'd be like, oh, who's your favorite Doctor? David Tennant. Which one? Like, is it the 10th Doctor or the 14th Doctor? Which one do you like? And it's like, wait, what? And I think for a lot of, although there's the idea, because you see a lot of articles that are obviously clearly written by somebody who's not watched Doctor Who in 15 years. And they always go, the only way to save Doctor Who is to bring David Tennant back. And it's like, I feel like if you're trying to get that audience back, making him a new Doctor that is not the 10th Doctor, and he's playing it differently, maybe he's got a Scottish accent, maybe he's got his beard and long hair that he's got now, you'd actually confuse them.
And you're not bringing
that
back
David Tennant. Is he the Doctor I knew? Is that what is he doing here?
And you're not bringing back that, like as you say, you're not bringing back that Doctor, you're bringing back that face. So hell,
but it's not that Doctor.
A part of me is like really interested in like seeing that, like imagining David playing another incarnation, but completely differently. Maybe we get like a completely different vibe. But then again, it's kind of like the whole point of the reason I love the 10th Doctor is because there is so much of just David in that character. Like I see him in other stuff and I see how David is, and there's so much of just David's personality, which he throws into the performance. And then he also throws so much of what he knows of Doctor Who into the performance. He just does so much there to create, for me, the best iteration of the Doctor. So it's kind of like, I'm interested to see what he'd do if he were given the role and he had to do something differently. But I'd also be thinking, but why? Because you've already aced that role. Why do it again, but differently?
And that's why I'm saying, like, even though I'm not a fan of that idea, but I do think it could be quite interesting. Doing it for one special is as much as I can handle. Don't give me a series or 2 of that, or even 3 series as the new Doctor rule is. I could not handle that for 3 series. I'd be like, I want a new Doctor. I don't want the Doctors again. And also, it's the thing we've said before, how about the next Doctor needs to be a female Doctor, so it doesn't look like a gimmick. If you bring it back to David Tennant, that is like the worst backtracking they could ever do. It's like, sorry guys, the Doctor Who's not been very good since David Tennant left. We'll give you him back. It's like, no, it has been. It has been good.
Like I love David Tennant. He's my favorite Doctor. I think he's incredible. But to go back to him to go back and visit, I think I think they should visit like all of the new Who Doctors again. Like I feel like I'd love to see Tennant again, but I'd love to see Capaldi again, because I feel like Capaldi kind of got shafted, especially in the Chibnall era, like what we got right now, because it's barely mentioned, and it's like, but it was great. Like what? But if we go back to David, it's just like, yeah, you're saying everything afterwards wasn't as good, and it's like, I love David, but Capaldi was excellent, and Matt was excellent, and Jodie has some excellent moments. You know, like it's you undermining everything that came after if you make any of the old Doctors a permanent thing. Like if they were to grab like Matt and they brought him back, I'd be feeling exactly the same way, because it's just.
I'd feel the same way if they did with Capaldi. Like people say, like you get a lot of the "not my Doctor" kind of people who always say when they want Jodie Whittaker to regenerate, they want it to be Capaldi wakes up and then regenerates into the 13th Doctor. He goes, "Oh, what a nightmare that was!" I think that's just what kind of stupid theory is that? That's just dumb. But it's like you said, like you can, if you do this body swapping thing, essentially, where it's just like Jodie Whittaker's regenerating, and maybe she becomes David Tennant, because that's the one that we'd all recognize as the shock. I think if you went straight into Capaldi, people might go, "Hey."
I'd scream either way, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, but I think David Tennant would be the one where people would go. Like a lot of people have said, it'd be great, like say the centenary special where she's supposed to regenerate, if it ended with her turning into David Tennant. Though the weird thing I think is, though, if they're swapping between bodies, is the outfit going to come with them, or are they all going to be wearing Jodie Whittaker's outfit?
That's a fair point.
That's the only thing I'm thinking. But
I mean, it's Doctor Who. There's got to be some sort of kind of way they could have like a thing which changes clothes or whatever.
Yeah.
Like no, they had the what's it called? Do you remember Matt and Clara when it was the fake projection clothes things? They've done that kind of thing before.
Yeah,
you
could explain it away, really.
But it'd be quite funny if the first regeneration is just David in like a really tight outfit.
But no, I've like some people have said if the Centenary ends with her regeneration, and then it leaves us on a cliffhanger for the 60th, if she did regenerate into David Tennant, I would be accepting of him just to go, what, credits. And I think that would be a good way of doing it, actually. And then you go into the centuries.
You hooked them.
Then you go into the 60th special with all these swap in between. Because I also think you can get back any of the classic Doctors that want to do it as well. Because if they're swapping between bodies, it's not actually that incarnation coming back. It's just their face kind of is coming back, and you can just be like, "Whoa, time's gone wrong. I remember this face, but it's not how I remember it." That kind of thing. Blah, blah, blah. You can easily do that, I think. But yeah. So that's kind of really the rumor mill. And there's really much else going on there. There's very little else that's gone on in the Doctor Who world, I'd say, since.
I mean, it's just a lot of kind of excitement for what's to come. It's a lot of what's happening, and also a lot of get on with what's currently going on. Like, just like,
there's some new speculation,
speed it along a bit.
Like every week. And it's kind of just like, by the time you get 3 weeks in, you forgot what you were speculating about a week ago. So
that's the thing, because it's just like 2 years away, isn't it? So it's just like we're sitting here thinking, I can't wait for. We're just gonna like talk about what's to come. Can't wait for it. And by like next month, it'll probably be a completely different rumor, like Capaldi's skydiving in the Grand Canyon with the first Doctor. Like, it's probably going to be something absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, I do think we'll probably. I'm kind of thinking, can you get on with announcing the 14th Doctor now? Because I think this is like the longest wait we've had since the Doctor announcing they're leaving and then finding out who the next one is. Usually they're quite rapid on telling you that.
And I think it'd be quite important now, with especially how the rumor is going, because I feel like a lot of people would just latch onto the David Tennant thing, and I just announce it. Just be like, the 14th Doctor is this person, and I think it would quash a lot of the rumors and be very much like, you're getting something new. You can be excited for something old, but you're gonna get something new. Deal with it, and I think that's important right now.
Yeah, I do. I just kind of think, because there's 2 Jodie Whittaker episodes left. We've got the Sea Devil one, probably over Easter somewhere, and then the centenary later in the year. And it's kind of like, I have a horrible feeling they're going to do a surprise regeneration. Like I said, it might be into David Tennant, or might just be into the 14th Doctor. We don't know what it is. But it's kind of like, that's a long time to wait. And if we're going to wait that long, why did you tell us that Jodie Whittaker was leaving about 6 months ago?
Mm-hmm. Maybe that was because there's the problem is, like, Jodie, she's not one of my favorite Doctors, but the problem is, I think a lot of the hate that the current era gets is, as it is, because it can be directed towards the actor. And I feel like maybe BBC just had a panic and were like, she's leaving, don't worry. And I'm like, that's like, they maybe did that to kind of calm people down, but honestly, that doesn't help anyone really. No, just instead of focusing on the leaving, just fix it. Like, I've never got that. Just fix what is happening. Don't focus on she's leaving, it'll be okay. Because it's like, that's not the reason why it's bad. Jodie, as we've said in a fair few episodes, she's like great. Like, she can be great. It's the writing that's bad.
Yes. Which I think is a nice segue, actually, to take us on to the topic of today, as promised for 2 months, is Rosa. Widely seen by many as Jodie Whittaker's best episode. Some people even say it's the best historical in New Who. Is it? That's what we are here to discuss today, because, as you said earlier, I have opinions on Rosa. When I first saw Rosa, I thought that was pretty good. There were things I didn't like about it, but I thought actually that was good. I enjoyed that. And then I think I rewatched it and I thought, what the hell was that? And then I watched it again, probably. I don't know if I've seen it. It was either the 3rd or 4th time I've seen it. I've not seen it, not today, yesterday. And I've kind of got a bit more solid opinions on it now. But I think I can answer the question of whether it is Jodie Whittaker's best episode or not. And we'll do that by the end. But you hadn't seen it before.
Mm-mm.
And what are your general opinions so far?
Allow me to open up my Doctor Who notepad, which I bought. And it was like, we just did a couple of episodes, and then the 2-month gap. It's like, I bought this for this podcast, and then we just disappeared. It was just sitting in the corner of my room. Yeah, it was really annoying. Like, and like, it's got really right. Oh, sorry about that. Hopefully you didn't hear that. I will say, with this episode, any plus points I've given it are some like big plus points. Like they're like, that's very, very good. But they are mostly negatives, I will just say. I went into it with kind of an open mind. I was very much like, I know Aidan's opinions of this, and I know the general population's opinions of this. So I was just like, I'm just going to see where I sit.
Lean to. Yeah.
Yes. And I started off quite like, this, I was enjoying it. But kind of as the episode progressed and I started seeing the writing, the way it was written became kind of too overt and very much like, there's something over there. Shall we go over there? Let's go over there. We're going over there now. It became a lot like that. And when I started noticing that, I was like, okay, you're losing me a bit. And then when they started introducing more of the sci-fi element, I'm like, you're losing me a bit more. And it couldn't keep me hooked really, because it felt like a lot of I don't know. It felt quite badly written and quite just bad in a lot of places. But then it did have some excellent moments. Like I'd say the actual Rosa Parks moment on the bus, I think is very well done. Like I think that is very well done. And the music is
questionable.
Although somewhat questionable, I do think it did actually quite work, because I've always had a soft spot in films and stuff whenever they kind of overlay like audio and kind of sound with just a piece of music, because I think it can create something quite interesting. And I do think the Rosa Parks moment, like the bus moment, actually worked quite well. And I think it was very interesting by making the companions and the Doctor on the bus. Like that was quite like, they have to be a part of that because of what it is. Just interesting that. It felt icky though. Like it felt icky.
It does feel icky. We'll come on to that. But I
think weird.
I think like with that bus moment, I think it's really well acted. I think she does it really well. Whatever the actress's name is, I can't remember, who was in Doctor Who before actually, but I can't think what her name is. I'll Google that in a moment. But just the fact that it is, when you think like, oh, there was white. When you're in a history lesson, you go, white people on the bus, she had to move somewhere else. And then we've grown up with our childhood hero, the Doctor. We love the Doctor for these years and years and years. And then you get told, the Doctor was the one who was sat, so Rosa Parks had to go get another seat. And you go, I don't like that.
Yeah, like it's the way to just like, it's a very well, like it's a well done scene. Like, and it's well acted, as you said, I think from everyone. And like but it felt weird at the same time. Like it was both okay, like in terms of the like how the episode set that bit up, it was like, okay, this makes sense. It's like a bit of a shock moment. Oh, they're on the bus as well. They have to be here for it to all work in history. And it's like, that's quite interesting. But then when you actually think about it, they are like, it's like, so you're saying they were initially like, it's, like it's all.
It's just the fact you're telling me
this whole episode has weird moments. Like
it's just the fact like you're telling me the Doctor was on the bus and Rosa had to sit elsewhere, then she was arrested and all these things. Like you think about, it's like, yeah, it's Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, and this was 3 episodes into her era. But you just think, just place any other Doctor into that situation. David Tennant was the reason Rosa Parks had to sit somewhere else. Peter Capaldi was the reason Rosa Parks had to sit somewhere else. And I just don't like that. I think it was wrong to me. If I'd been told Batman was the one who assassinated JFK, do you know, you'd be like, ugh, no.
Like in terms of the, like, yeah, I know what you mean. Like in terms of the story and the way the story was set up, it's like they had to do that for history. But if you just think about what that, like, just think about, as you said, Jodie was the reason Rosa Parks had to sit somewhere else. It's like, that's not good. Like it's really, it's like,
it is just like, and it's people go, well, what else would you want them to do? And I'd be like, not be in that situation. Like you can write it to go in a different direction. We don't have to have them on the bus. You could have made this go a different way. And it's just something about it that is just like, it's like when Graham like goes, no, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do that. And it's like, no, neither do I. Why are we in this situation? We don't have to be here. Can we not avoid it in some way? But there are just a few things in the episode that I just find icky. And it's just like, it's like, I think it starts off, like you said, I think it starts off dead good. And even like the opening with that scene.
The cold open after the cold open, like the cold open.
That would have been the cold open if they didn't put the titles at the start.
Yeah.
And it was like, that I think is really good. And the common theme that I think for this episode, that there's actually like in any Doctor Who cold open, when you have that kind of scene, you're basically introducing the threat. And there they introduce the threat of racism. And you do actually feel, I feel threatened as I'm watching this. And then basically as the episode goes on, it goes, forget about that. Here's a random guy in a leather jacket. And I've always said, get him out. We don't need him here. Focus on that. They're like we said with the Witchfinders. Also in this series, a common theme here, just give us two pure historicals. Give us, they're thrown in, something's going on. We can't get out of the TARDIS. Whoa. And they're in the middle of this fight against racism. That would be a better threat.
Like, I felt like with this episode, with the kind of the message and the threat being racism, when it deals with that, I think it's doing it very well. And when it's like, that's what it's focusing on and it's doing that, I think very well done. But as it tries to focus on this alien, this other character, you're taking away from what the kind of the point of Rosa Parks is. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like instead of focusing on what Rosa Parks did and how important that was and what an incredible like person and historical figure she is, instead of focusing on that as much, you're kind of focusing on just adding a sci-fi element. And I feel like that's taking away from Rosa Parks. And it's like, I don't like that. I'd rather because we celebrate what she did, you know?
Especially because when you do that in that opening scene where you've gone, here's racism, here's the threat, and then Ryan gets slapped and all these kind of things. They're your good threats. This is where you go. This is the fight we should be fighting against. But instead, what you actually do as the episode goes along, what you're basically saying is you need the Doctor and co to be racist in order to stop racism. And you kind of go, can we not have just cut that bit out? And just have us in some situation, I don't know what, we'll probably think of one as we go along this episode, as we usually do.
Yeah.
And then have us fight that as the threat.
Yes.
Have the Doctor fighting against racism.
It felt more like they were fighting
against by and waiting for Rosa Parks to do it.
Actually, it felt more like they were fighting against Rosa in certain places. Like they were just dicks to her on some levels, and it's like do you know what I mean? Like when they were said, we work for the bus company. It's like, again,
like, why would you say that of all things? And then like, and then when Rose is like, if I win your raffle, will I be able to sit where I want? The Doctor just goes, no. And it's like, why? Why did you say you were from the bus company? Like,
why? Yeah, it feels like, could we not just have had could we not have had the Doctor and co work with Rosa and kind of help her and kind of do that? But then again, if you do that, does it undermine what Rosa had to do? It's this episode, like, it's just like,
but it's like they're scheming and conspiring all through the episode to make her life a misery. That's what they are doing. And I've just always thought it's like, so like, you're giving off the wrong message here. You're not saying, here's the Doctor, this person with great power, though she doesn't even recognize the Doctor. Doesn't even recognize Rosa. And it's like, rather than this Doctor fighting racism, doing the good fight, she's instead going to be awkward to Rosa Parks, get her in an F situation, leave, and let Rosa Parks deal with it. Yeah. And it's like, I don't like that. I don't. It's just...
you could have you could have quite easily had the Doctor and co work with Rosa to fight racism and have Rosa be Rosa Parks, and them just having to kind of assist a little bit, or really just kind of work kind of under her guidance in a way, like that kind of thing. And you could have had that, because by doing that, you still have Rosa Parks be the amazing figure she is, like you're portraying her properly, and you're not taking away from what she did, because she's still the one kind of leading that. But you have the Doctor and co work with her, so you have them be not racist, you know?
Yeah.
And instead, the writers kind of went with, let's go with the awkward solution where we kind of just make life worse for Rosa, actively make it worse for her, and then be part of the problem. It like, the more you think about it, like actually think about it, like what the episode did, it's like, even when they find out the bus driver's got the day off, and then it's like, your reaction really to that, although yes, it is messing with time, yes, but we're finding out the bus driver that stopped, that was nasty to Rosa Parks has got the day off. You think, great, it won't happen to her. Brilliant. That's the actual emotional response you would have. And instead they all go, no, 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 get him back on. And it's like, I get it. You were trying to preserve time. I do. But it's like their emotional response shouldn't immediately be, no, this must happen. It should be like, sure, it's a good thing, Doctor. Rosa Parks won't be mistreated. Blah, 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 blah. And the doctor's like, no, I've got to preserve time. Like all the emotions, everybody's drives and motives are off for me. And the doctor didn't.
It's not like when Fires of Pompeii. It's not like Catherine Tate when she says, just save somebody. It's like, can't we just change something just to save somebody? They're all actively like, no, this must happen. We can't affect this. Don't get involved. And it's all like, where's that emotional drive to try and save?
If you wanna sell that, like the doctor has to do this, I needed a moment where the doctor is just kind of like, I needed someone to just tell the doctor, like, why are we like actively helping the bad side here?
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, I feel like we needed a moment where the doctor just had like a speech saying, like, what Rosa did is important and it's a fixed point. Like, it's a fixed point in time, or something like that. Like, I don't. It just all. It feels icky is the way to describe it, because it's like you're not. I don't know. It's like it's hard to put into words.
It is. There's just a sense that I get off it when I watch it, and I just go, this is uncomfortable, and I can't really tell why. But there's just something not right about this. Like, I don't like the message that it's giving us. It's trying to give you this message of, look at this great historical figure. But if you think about, if you're applying this to the real world, it's actually telling you is, if there's a racist fight going on, if you see there is an injustice in the world, don't do anything. Sit by and let the people get on with it. And it's like, that's not the message you should be giving off. You should be telling us to join in, like, especially when they even bloody have Martin Luther King in it, 30 seconds. And you can see there is this room of like a resistance and protests and all this kind of thing. Have that be the episode. Have us. And we're stranded in 1950s America. Oh no, there's some racist thing goes on. Maybe keep Brian getting slapped, whatever. And it's like, no, I'm not going to stand for this. Have it like original Hartnell era historicals, where the purpose of them was to educate you about a period of history. That's what they were for. If this is going for that, let's tell you about Rosa Parks, because you get thickos like Ryan who have no idea who she is. Show us that.
Blows my mind, frankly.
Just basically show us them helping Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King. That is your episode. You think, yeah, well, where's the monster? Racism is the monster. You don't need to have somebody fighting. You don't need to have some sci-fi element. You can just, the fact that they have gone back in time is the sci-fi element, and like go from there.
Like the message of this episode is racism is the monster. Racism is terrible and evil, and it just is. And when it's focusing on that, I do think the episode does do it quite well.
Yeah,
but it's as it focuses on another figure, the prison escapee, the leather jacket guy who just
Krasko.
That's the one.
Some Chibnall crap name.
It's like it doesn't. It's like instead of focusing on what the message of the episode is, it kind of focuses on just an external threat. Like it just, as a historical, it should have just been a historical where, as you said, we explore the resistance and all of that, and it educates us. Really, that would have been better. And Martin Luther King, it felt less like he was celebrated in this episode. Like he was, but it was more kind of like used for kind of comic relief, like with Ryan mentioning his nan and that kind of thing. Like I'm like, we needed more of kind of I just wanted more of. I wanted more Rosa Parks. I wanted more Martin Luther King. I wanted more of the people in that room. I wanted to get to know them. I wanted them to be such a bigger focus rather than just
hello, Martin Luther King, and then
barely even a side plot. Hello, Martin Luther King. My nan fancies you, or whatever. Like, I would like. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and even so, let's just say he's gone here. This is what he's doing. The Doctor meets him and decides to just kind of mess with him a little bit. Honestly, I don't know why they didn't just boot him off or just kill him. Like, the Doctor could have stopped this entire kind of episode of going wrong instead of trying to be cool and kind of find stuff out. I mean, you found out his motives basically instantly when you first met him, because he said, like, the Doctor said, why are you after Rosa Parks? And he said, who's Rosa Parks? And I'm like, right, the dude's just blatantly lying there. Like, you can see through that, like, it's just transparent paper, like tracing paper. Like, you could see everything there. And the Doctor was like, I'm just going to fiddle with your device a bit. So on the off chance you try and attack me again, it'll overheat. Just send him back through time. Just use it against him. I mean, the Doctor is like, mean sometimes, and I feel like this is one instance, this is one of many instances actually, where I'd be like, be really mean to this guy, like fuck him over because he's a piece of shit, you know. And it's just kind of like, you could have stopped everything here. It felt,
especially
the
when
Doctor didn't really care sometimes,
especially because when Ryan zaps him back in time to the dinosaur era or whatever he says later on, the Doctor's just like, all right, like she has no qualms against that. It's like, why couldn't you have just done that earlier rather than pissing about for the entire thing, going off to find the bus driver, going off to do this, giving you a coat to sew, all these things. Like, you could have just throw him into the TARDIS, even just got to stay there for a bit. I'll go take you off. And she just destroys the vortex manipulator. So she's clearly not precious about anything in this episode. So why could you not have done them much sooner? Yeah. Because even when she has that big confrontation with him at the start, when she first meets him, she does all this like, yeah, I'm going to stop you. And then it just cuts and she's walking away. Like, why did we achieve
just stop him? Just stop him. I'm going to stop you. So stop him. Like, it felt like a lot of this episode, like, I feel like they had an idea on what they wanted it to be, but they didn't have enough time. So they ham-fisted in this kind of, it did feel kind of like it was drawn out in places sometimes, like them just going somewhere, or like, why not? Like, wasn't there a moment where they don't wait? Don't they? Do they only use? They don't use the TARDIS at all this episode, do they?
No.
That's one thing. I feel like they could have used that a little bit.
But it's like, because I was saying there's that bit when they get the bus. And it's one of those ignorant moments from the Doctor in this episode where they get the bus to go off to find Rosa. And she's like, oh, sorry, Ryan, you have to go sit at the back. And Yaz has the whole crisis over, am I white? Because they think I'm Mexican, whatever. And I think you could have avoided that. Just getting the TARDIS, go to her workplace. Why
I felt like just
why are you getting the bus? When have we ever seen the Doctor go, I need to go somewhere. Let's get the bus.
Like that just felt like the Doctor just making Ryan and Yaz feel really shit. Like, just like, okay, let's just make you experience this shit. Like it's, could you not have just like?
And then she's just sat there with Graham just turns around and just goes, sorry.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, just moves
My
on.
bad. Like, it's, could we not have had an episode where how about this? I know I'm jumping to solve the episode now, but why don't we have an episode where the Doctor, like, instead, what we have, the Doctor is actively trying to stop all these racist things, because it's like, that's like, it's just terrible, and she's trying to stop it all and that kind of thing. But what happens is, because it's a fixed point in time, she can't change what's happening. Like, she tries to change all these things, and you can have things kind of have it, like they're all kind of realigning, and she's trying to stop it and change it. But it just comes down to it being exactly the same. Yes. And Rosa gets on the bus, and then she refuses to give up a seat, and then she's arrested. And it's like, the Doctor tried to stop like kind of the racism and kind of fight the monster, but it still happened, and Rosa Parks still did what she did, and that then started this huge movement. Like I think it'd be a better.
Oh, I said this would happen, didn't I? I said I can't think of a way to fix this. I said, we'll think of one later. We've just done it. That's what I'm saying. Throw her into an episode, because there, in your idea, there's no sci-fi threat, but there are still sci-fi elements because the Doctor is arrived. She's arrived. We're in 1950s America. We're keeping everything so far. Ryan gets slapped. All of that is still happening. And then it gets to the point where they're in that cafe when they're all saying we don't serve Mexicans and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All of this is staying. None of that is moving. Then you've got the Doctor say, you can just have the Doctor going, I'm not standing for this. This shouldn't be happening. I'm going to fix this. So she's trying, like you said, she's trying to go about trying to change all these little things, trying to educate all these little people. And she's thinking, we shouldn't be in a situation where Rosa has to do that. But like you said, rather than the Doctor manipulating events to make sure it does happen, have her manipulating events to try and make sure it doesn't happen, but realizing it's inevitable and it just has to. Yes. That is a far more interesting plot.
And I think it's much more in line.
Let's commit racism.
Yeah, because I think it's much more in line with the Doctor's character to have something like a Time Lord Victorious moment. It's like this is terrible. I'm seeing this firsthand. How terrible humans can be. I feel like that'd be a good line that the Doctor would say. They've said something like that
and
before.
Especially happening to her companions too.
Yes, like she's seeing it happen firsthand, and she's seeing it happen to her family, as she says. So it'd be very much I would really understand the emotional response to be like, I'm stopping all of this, because I'd react the same way. I'd be like, fuck all this shit. Like, what the fuck? I'm like, I'm like, if I were the Doctor, I'd be like, I'm stopping all of this. Like, I know who to kind of, like, I know who to talk to get it to start going. I know who to just stab to stop it. Like, do loads of things to try and stop it from happening. And then it just being a fixed point in time where it is Rosa's moment. Like, it's Rosa who does it, Rosa's the one who changes history, and the Doctor tries to, but it's Rosa that does it. And I think that'd be much better. And I think it's a much better message, actually, because the message would be you do everything to, like, if you see racism, if you see injustice, do everything you can to stop it. And change can happen. Because even if what you're doing you don't see the change in what you're doing, like you're doing all these things and it's not changing, even if that doesn't look like it's making a change will happen, because then Rosa does something and change happens. Like, I think that it is a much better message.
It's a far better plot, much better message. And that is the episode I'd rather watch. Interesting as well, that it's co-written with Mallory Blackman. So I remember when that was announced, because she's a dead famous author. I'm thinking, that's a good pull for Doctor Who.
What stuff did she write?
Oh, I couldn't tell you, but it's one of those when I was always in school and it'd be Mallory Blackman everywhere. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I think, God, but she's writing a Doctor Who episode. But then I think actually a lot of my issues that I have with like just going away from the plot, like you said earlier, I say this episode's like it's written for the blind. And I actually think that is not a Chibnall thing. I actually think it's her. And the reason I say that is because if you think she's an author, she's used to writing prose. Yaz saw the suitcase appear. It wasn't there a moment ago. She approaches it. She looks inside. That kind of writing.
For a book, amazing.
Yeah. But then in this, when they go, oh, there's a suitcase. That wasn't there a moment ago. Shall we go over to it? Yes, let's open it up. We're opening it up. Oh, there appears to be tools inside. It's like, shut up. I can see all of this.
They're not from Earth.
It's like, I can see all of this. Why are you telling me? I think
that was quite possibly. I was just going to say, that was quite possibly the worst written moment of Doctor Who I've ever seen. Like, it was literally suitcase. Like, it's just like, we're in empty space. They start by saying we are in an empty room. Why would it be locked? Oh, there's a suitcase over there. It wasn't there before. Should we approach the suitcase? Okay, let's approach the suitcase. Do you think we can open the suitcase? Be careful, the suitcase might be dangerous if you were to open the suitcase that we're about to open. Open suitcase. We have opened the suitcase and look what is inside the suitcase that we have just opened and walked over to. There is sci-fi technology that is inside the suitcase that we just opened that we walked over to from the locked door. It is so infuriating. Just why?
You just sit there and go, shut up, I can see all of that. Why are you telling me? And it's just, I do think because it's written in the Yaz thought to herself, this technology is not from Earth. It's written like that, but they're saying it. And it's just like, stop it. And it just makes no sense to be doing that.
There are other moments in this episode where it's just like a lot of saying what they're doing while doing it. And there's a lot of kind of, I know we've said that it's a Russell Davies thing to be like, my mate Shireen says this, but they seem to do that a lot in this episode. I don't know if you noticed that, but it's always like, oh, I had a friend in school who did this, or me, and that's another thing as well. None of them recognize Rosa Parks, not even the Doctor. I know what Rosa Parks looks like I would recognize her instantly. Even the Doctor has no idea. But then later on in the episodes, Yaz is like, oh yeah, I was in Rosa Parks' class, and gives out her entire biography. Tells you she went to work at this time, she was a seamstress, she did this, she did that, she did this, and you don't know what she looks like. So imagine, like in my primary school, all our classes were named after birds. So I know what a kingfisher looks like. Are you telling me you don't know what Rosa Parks looks like? But you can still tell us. But you can still tell us what time she went to work. And then even like when the Doctor splits them all off because there's too many of them and she doesn't want to do them all. And she goes, Yaz, can you compile me a timeline of everything that's going to happen today? And Yaz goes, yes. He's like, what do you mean you can compile a timeline of everything that's going to happen today? I don't remember any history I learned in primary school. Yet you can do that, but you don't know what she looks like. I feel like why not just have the Doctor do that? Like, why couldn't they have just had the Doctor recognize her? What does that do? Because you can still have the moment where we see Rosa Parks for the first time and be like, oh my God, it's Rosa Parks. You can still have that, but you just delay the Doctor's response by like half a second. Or
just have the Doctor, rather than be like, who are you? I'm Rosa Parks, because everybody's clearly British actors doing American accents in this episode. You could just have the Doctor just go, oh my God, it's Rosa Parks. Boom. There you go. You don't need to go, oh, it's Rosa Parks. I would never have guessed.
So the Doctor was more excited about opening a suitcase that they had pondered about for about 30 minutes than seeing Rosa Parks. And frankly, that annoys me.
Yeah, it's just... And then Ryan, a black man, who goes, oh yeah, she was the first bus driver. Like, come on.
Oh my God, it actually annoyed me. Like, I mean, that would annoy me if anyone said that, because I was just like, what? Like, what? And
then like, that's nothing, because they're like, Yaz is the one who's written the autobiography. But then suddenly Graham's like, oh yeah, the bus driver's called James Blake because I was a bus driver. It's like, okay, so you suddenly know loads about this. And then they're saying how much Ryan's nan, Grace, one who died in episode 1 and just kept coming bloody back all the time. You're saying she was a huge Rosa Parks fans, not the right word, but supporter and admirer. She had a t-shirt about Rosa Parks. She said something about Rosa Parks too. Graham, when they first met, she used to go on about Martin Luther King all the time. And Ryan doesn't know who she is. It's just nothing adds up.
No, and it's like the episode. It feels like you've got all these lines and they've written them all out, and then they've gone, who do we give which line? And they've forgotten that the person they gave a line who doesn't know who Rosa Parks is, they've now given a line who does know. And it's all like they've just not, it feels like, so Ryan starts the episode by saying, who's this? And then by the end of the episode, he knows stuff. And then like Graham doesn't, like, it's like, could you just, all of these lines about, if you don't want them to know who she is, which is fundamentally dumb in the first place. If you don't want that, give the lines to the Doctor. Don't just have them know who she is. Why do you need to have this? Well, I know why. It's probably so they can
tell
us the audience and be like who she is, and that's okay, fair enough. Have like one companion who doesn't know, but couldn't you like? It's just like it's Rosa Parks. I mean, I know. You don't need to teach me, but you can teach me who she is by showing me what she does. There you go. There you go. Just show me what she does, and you've taught me. The episode should teach me. You don't need to have a PowerPoint presentation to one of the characters. Just show me in the episode. Why have we got like Yaz, who like, if like before I like the latest season, Yaz didn't really like, I didn't really know much about Yaz, but Yaz is my favorite of the three because of how I've seen her in the latest season.
Yeah,
because it's
I was the same.
more
I remember
character.
I remember watching this series for the first time, like, why is Yaz just there? She's just there all the time. What is she actually doing? But post Flux, looking back, I'm going, actually, she does kind of just have a bit more stuff about her. But I've only been able to spot that now because I've seen her on her own. As before, she gets so overcrowded by everybody and all these personalities that I wasn't able to appreciate that. So Yaz actually gone up in my estimations, to be honest. And that's one of the things I enjoyed about this episode.
Like the first ever minus point I wrote in my little book here was companions, because they are all this. There are too many, and they are jumbly written, like they're jumbled up. Like it feels like a line is given to Graham, which is then that motive is then passed on to Ryan, and Ryan then forgets who he is, and then Yaz has to remind Ryan that his name is Ryan. And it's the companions are just frankly dog shit. They individually could be amazing, but as a group, they are so one-dimensionally boring and annoying, and they take so much screen time away from the Doctor. Like I need to get to know this Doctor, and for the third episode, I feel like I'm not learning anything about who this Doctor is really because of how many companions there are. That's probably one of the best things about kind of the like Capaldi and Tennant, like how they started out and to be fair, the way Matt started out with their new companion was incredibly well done because we were introduced to Matt and then the companion. But the way David and Capaldi did it is we had a companion carry over. And that meant we didn't get used to the companions. We were just getting used to the new Doctor through the eyes of the companion we knew. But what Chibnall decides to do is give us 3 new companions who we don't know who they are. And we're trying to learn who they are while also learn who the new Doctor is. I hate it. It is so confusing, and they might all be great individually. And we know Yaz is very good and much, much better without the rest. So it's just like, I hate it.
I think if you're going to have, if Chibnall was hell-bent on having 3 companions, let's say we've got to fit 3 companions into this mix, you can do it like the last time they really had 3 companions in Classic Who was the changeover between Tom Baker to Peter Davison. They had one episode where they introduced Adric. About 3 episodes later, they introduced Nyssa. And then an episode later, they introduced Tegan. So you gradually get used to Adric, you get used to Nyssa, you get used to Tegan, boom, they're off as a group. You used them all by that time. Having it all immediately thrown at you, you go, oh, got a lot to process here. And then you kind of get 3 episodes in like this, and there's still like you're getting new information about them, but you can't remember who that's for. And they're all getting in each other's way. And I've always, and even if I do like Graham at times because I do find him funny, and I do find him a bit of one of these. I think by this time he's got the strongest personality out of anybody. So he's the only one I can really latch on to, and it's only I've only really got now an attachment to Yaz and the Doctor via a later series. And it's going backwards, going, oh, actually, Jodie Whittaker's not too bad here, actually. But it's only because I've seen her shine later on. Here, she just gets lost in noise. I think Ryan's still terrible. Ryan's just like bottom of the barrel companions, probably the worst one we've ever had in all of Doctor Who history. He's bored and annoyed and doesn't care. It's like he's actively doesn't care. I just don't. And to be honest, I don't think that's maybe like. I haven't seen the actor in other stuff, but I do feel like it's probably more just the writing, because the writing... He's in a Star Wars for about 30 seconds.
Which one?
I think it might be Force Awakens.
Okay,
Do you know you always get in the cockpit cameos?
Oh.
He's one of them.
Oh, cool. That's all right.
So you'll watch, if you ever watch Force Awakens again, it's one of them. You'll go, oh, that's Ryan. But I think I think he looks more excited in that 30 seconds
probably
than he ever did in Doctor Who.
But I'm beginning to think it's not, like, I don't think it's the actor, because the writing in this episode is actively making him thick. Like, it is genuinely like he's written to be even dumber. And I don't understand, because that doesn't help me. Like, the companion is always like, the companion is kind of the gateway into understanding the Doctor and the understanding the world. That's how I've always believed it. That's like the point of it, basically. But like, Ryan is written so badly. I'm just like, I can't connect with you, because it's like, I can see that's a suitcase. You don't need to tell me about the suitcase. Like, it's,
but it's like my main note I wrote about the companions to kind of sum this up was I just put, at least Yaz actually mentions being police. Don't mind her here. Graham always fun. Ryan just dull. That was what I wrote. Like, it just I don't get 3 companions too many, as I think Chibnall has learned now. But
yes. Enough on companions. We've spoken about companions to death.
Just to lead us into our final thoughts, it's just like, is this Jodie Whittaker's best episode? No, far from. It's not even in my top 10. Like, I find this episode unsettling. When I watched it for the first time, I'm not thinking critically. I'm just watching it, seeing what this new era is giving us. I was like, yeah, good. I found a story post that I put up going, well done, Doctor Who. You did a brilliant episode. Even despite and I rise up, all that crap. I hate that. I know you said you didn't mind it, but Doctor Who has never used a song as soundtrack before. And I think, why are you throwing that in now? This is just wrong. And then putting it over the end credits as well.
Yeah, no. I didn't mind it in the moment, but I can understand why, if like it not being something that's ever been done before, I can understand why it's not. Yeah, I understand that. That's fair enough. I thought it was fine. Over the end credits, because it just repeated itself. Like, it was like end of the song, then it started again, and it was just kind of like, yeah, but the Doctor Who credits
had that 20-second sample. They just needed to use that.
The Doctor Who credits are like, it's the Doctor Who theme. Like, just it should, like, you don't need to change that. If that's a bit like, it's still Doctor Who. Like, you're still making Doctor Who. You've got, like, I feel like a lot of the Jodie era. No, I feel like a lot of the Jodie era is like, I've got to sit here and remind them, you're making Doctor Who. Please remember that you are making something that has come before. There was a doctor that came before you. His name is Peter Capaldi, and he's phenomenal. Please remember him.
I think it was trying to turn it into what they call prestige drama. And I think, you do get loads of dramas that use songs as soundtrack. That's not a unordinary thing. That's not actually a word, but I will go for it.
He's trying, everyone.
I was thinking, what is the opposite of ordinary? Do you know what I mean? I suppose it's extraordinary, but that's not what I'm trying to get at here. Anyway,
it's not an unknown thing.
Not an uncommon thing for programs to use pop song as soundtrack. Very common. But for Doctor Who, that has never done that before, suddenly going, "Hannah, rise up." It's like, why are you giving me this? This is so weird. And it's like, Murray Gold would have been a really powerful, umphy tune that you'd remember, and you'd be like, yes, what a great Rosa's theme. You'd be really in it. And this one, they just like, it's like Seigo Nakanoda was like, can't think of one, just throw a song in. And then putting it over the end credits. The Doctor Who theme is iconic. It is the theme. You want to hear the theme. Instead, you just get, and I rise up. Stop giving me that bloody bit
I don't know
of
why I
music.
played again. Like, as I said, I'm fine with it in the episode. Like, I'm just like, fine. But it's just so weird because it repeats itself. It's like the song ends. It ends. 2 seconds. It starts again. It is so weird. Jarring. It's like, why? Like, why not just have the end credits do the end credit song? Like, why not just
you get the song, and then you get the scene where it basically goes, Rosa Parks is important because she had an asteroid named after her. And then you get the song again. It's like, what is this weird whiplash you're throwing me through here? And it's just, very odd bit there. But no, as we were saying, is it her best episode? No, it's not. Does it have good moments? Yes. Yeah. It does. It does have very good, strong episodes. And if somebody put it in their top 10, I would understand that. Top 5, maybe. But number 1, I question, because there are some big major problems, both with what the narrative is giving off, the way it's made, as including shots and the weird writing and kind of the way it handles its characters is just like something doesn't sit right here. There's just something off. Feels like they had a great intention and they started off really strong, but as they started writing, and it feels like they've just gone, right, we need a sci-fi monster now. Get this random guy in. Soon as they did that, they started focusing on the wrong thing.
Yes.
And they lost what they were trying to achieve. And I think that's when I lose interest in the episode, really.
As I said, when they're focusing on the message of racism being the monster, the episode is at its strongest because that's when it's at its strongest. But then when they brought the sci-fi element in, it starts focusing on that. It's just, you're losing what you're actually trying to say by trying to make it sci-fi. But that's the thing about Doctor Who, it is inherently sci-fi. Like, it cannot not be.
The fact they've time traveled ticks that box. You don't need to throw a space racist from the future in. You don't need him. Before, like, with all my notes, I didn't really have the conclusion fully. I was very much kind of like, I felt icky in a lot of places, but it did some things really well. And I was like, what is it that's not sitting right with me? And it is the way the Doctor is handling the situation, how they're dealing with it, because they're not teaching us racism's bad, because what they're doing is doing it. They're actively being shit. And I do think it would have been much better and a much kind of clearer message by having it be the Doctor and co trying to stop it happening, trying to stop racism, trying to do stuff like that, and then having the bus, the Rosa Parks moment still happen, but Rosa Parks still does it, and it still has that ripple effect. Like, just the point is, and the Doctor and the TARDIS team have made a difference in some way.
Yes. Like,
whereas they leave this and they've not actually achieved anything.
The point is, the message would be, no matter what, stand up against racism, stand up against equality. Yes. No, the message would be, stand up against racism, stand up against inequality, stand up against injustice. It would be that. And it would be that you should always stand up, no matter what. You should stand up against it, and you should, like, try and be the change you want to see. And that change does happen, and that it does affect the whole of history. And that would be a much better message. And I think that would have made it.
Man in the Mirror now, aren't you?
Sorry, a very good episode.
Gonna make that change. So you're doing, well, yeah, I think that kind of sums it up, because it does fit into our series 2 idea of the best episodes, but we've treated it kind of like how we treated series 1 episodes. And it's just weird, because it's like, it does have really strong moments, and I feel like we've kind of more focused on the bad ones, but it's just because the strong ones, I feel like, don't really need explaining. Why I don't need to tell you why that opening scene is strong. It shows you the harsh realities of racism and all these things. I don't need to say that. But something that I feel like people don't really talk about this episode is those icky elements. And I feel like it's just a case of, oh, Rosa Parks is in Doctor Who. How strong, how amazing, how iconic. And it's a bit like, but have you actually considered what Doctor Who's saying about Rosa Parks? Because it's not actually what you think it is. And I just find that odd. So next week, when we are back in the radio studio, not doing a home show, we're going to be doing how Doctor Who should handle historical figures with Vincent and the Doctor.
Hey, that's wonderful.
So
I'm going to cry.
Yes, I will as well. Oh, that uses a song at the end, actually, doesn't it?
Yeah. No.
Thinking about it. But
we'll see on second watch, now with this knowledge in mind.
Well, it's more subtle, isn't it then? And rise up.
We'll see. No, but
yes. So join us then.
No, should we give Rosa a rating? Do we do that still? Or was that only for Flux?
We did in series 1. We did with Flux. Do you want to give it a rating?
I mean, I can't really remember like how I rated things. So I'm quite nervous.
I'd probably go 6.
Yeah, I was about to say like 6 out of 10.
I think 7's way too high. Five seems low.
6.
Maybe
6 out of
5,
10.
maybe 5.5. I don't know.
I'm giving it a 6, and I made my mind up.
Yes, I will leave before I change my mind. No, yeah, that's that. Join us next week. Same back time, same back channel.
Thank you very much for listening, everyone.
Goodbye.
See ya.
Right.
Give me 1 sec. Give me a second.